I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, October the 11th, Columbus Day. Those of you that still call it that and haven't gotten too woke. Brought to you in part by Joplin Regional Stockyards. Just a moderate offering this Monday here for the regular feeder cattle auction. Got 4,500 head for Monday. They're still offering the commingling for you guys, the smaller producers that want to sell your cattle in larger bunches, which studies have shown that larger bunches and the lot size has more to do with price than anything else, even color, guys. But you need to get them in bigger bunches. They feature them kind of on the high line right there mid-morning if you want to get your cattle in there. If you want to do that, you need to bring them in Sunday afternoon so they can kind of size and sex those cattle and get them all thrown in together. And they do go ahead and give them a respiratory shot there and charge that to the buyer, and the buyers don't mind it, but that's a good deal. That's a service that they offer, and it doesn't cost you any extra. And speaking of selling your cattle and getting on a marketing plan, if you guys want to sell on that wean vac value added special that they always have the 1st of December, right during the national finals every year, and that's the biggest week that Joplin Regional Stockyards has as far as marketing. But if you want to get on there, you need to be weaning your calves this week so that they'll be 45 days weaned in time for that sale. That is very, very important. So I know we've got weather changes and things like that, but you need to be getting those cattle weaned so that they'll be weaned long enough by the time you get to those big value-added sales. And speaking of that, weather changes are big this week. We saw it over the weekend, tail end of last week, but get up in the elevations, especially if you go up in the northern plains, they've had some winter weather already. Seen some places where they've had some snows already. Been getting some freezes. I'm not sure how hard the freezes are. Everybody's pretty much rooting for a hard freeze to get rid of all these dang flies that are causing everything to be so miserable. But seen a lot of wind as you move down into the southern plains, into the Midwest, places like that. We saw some weather patterns go across and that's what causes wind is changes of weather. And we've seen a lot of fronts moving across the middle part of the country, and it's just that time of year, guys. It's fall of the year. We're seeing big weather changes, 40 or 50 degree difference between your highs and your lows, taking a toll on your cattle just like it takes a toll on you and your children. But the things that we talked about this past week, the board rebounded big time, especially on feeder cattle, due to technical support, and we enjoyed that pretty much all week until very late in the week there, and it did give a shot in the arm to our feeder cattle prices in your sale barns. Not quite as big of a knee-jerk reaction as we sometimes see. Of course, you can't turn those cash markets around on a dime like you can your futures markets, but we sure did see that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. We saw later in the week your House Ag Committee hearing come out, and at least the chairman of the committee, he seemed to be listening and kind of come up with some statements following that hearing that sounded pretty decent, and I still think we're going to get something done there. They've sure wasted a lot of energy trying to get it done, but the White House administration wants to get that done. They're wanting to use meat prices as a scapegoat for the inflation that has affected everybody in their households. So let's allow them to do it. Let's take advantage of it and get something done here while we still can. We also saw reports that said bovine tuberculosis was found in a herd in Montana. So, that's going to cause more hoops to jump through there. Hopefully they can keep that contained. It's funny to me that they're able to track that down within just a day or two, yet they still want us to have mandatory ID. We haven't heard them talk about that much here lately because there's been so many other things going on. But, the safeguards and the tracking system that we've been using quite a bit has been serving us pretty well, and it served us here in this instant too. We also had an update from the Farmer's Friend, JBS. You know, the Brazilian owned and packing plant there that is now the largest protein provider in the world. You know, that we know through years and years of examples that they are willing to do anything to expand and to add to their profits. And the latest that we saw is that they had bought over 300,000 head of cattle from irregular farms. Which you say, irregular farms, what is that? Well, that's some farms that have been clearing land illegally in the Amazon rainforest for the reason to graze cattle there, and this was down in the Brazilian parts of JBS's operation down there. But down in that country, they've been trying to stop this burning off and clearing illegally of Amazon rainforest. They think it could do a major impact to our environment, and if you're thinking that would be one of the things, you know, we're worried about cow farts and things like that. Now, if you're tearing down the rainforest to expand your operation, now I can see how that would affect your environment in a big way. But all your major meat packers down in that part of the world had agreed that they would stop purchasing cattle from irregular farms like this. They agreed this back in 2013, and there was a long list of these operations that were blacklisted for environmental crimes, and also other things like you know, participating in slave labor, you know, having grazing cattle and operating on indigenous lands, and that's another name that they want to call Columbus Day, is Indigenous People Day. But so we sure hate to do it on this particular day, but doing that, and then more environmental crimes. But sure enough, JBS had been buying cattle from them, and they had really expanded that in 2020. Of course, you know, every time that we get short of meat around here, the United States, because we can't keep the plants open, or we can't keep you know, our production up, then we start seeing pouring of product coming from Brazil, and likely it's a bunch of this stuff that's been produced on lands that you know, do not meet the specs, and that they'd agreed not to continue to fund, you know, and no telling what kind of you know, quality of that product is too. Likely some kind of a water buffalo or wildebeest or something like that, and then coming over here and flooding our markets, because most all that product is a ground product, so it'd be kind of hard to tell what the quality was on it. And then they bring it over there and mix it with the excess fat that we have, fat trim, to give it a good flavor, because that's where most of your flavor comes from, is the fat. Then they can mix it right in, lie on the label, and stick it right into your fast food restaurants and some of your cheaper supermarkets. But you know, your Farmer's Friend JBS is always good for that. Let's talk about your board for last week. October live cattle futures. Monday was up $2.22. Tuesday was up 20. Wednesday up $1. Thursday up $1.45, and Friday up 30 cents for the October contract, ending the week at 125.57. That was up $5.17 for the week. December ended the week at 130.25. I still don't think we're ever going to see 130 widespread on fat cattle, because we have no leverage to get us there. But the board can jump back up there and do that once in a while, and I think you guys need to you know, dally up to it when you see that happen, because I would really doubt that we see that in the cash market. But at 130.25 on December, up $5.05. October feeder cattle, Monday up $2.25, Tuesday up $1.10, Wednesday up 70 cents, Thursday was huge, up $3.55, and Friday some profit taking there, end of the week down 87 cents. But your October feeder cattle contract ended the week at 159.47, up $6.72. November was up $8.25 for the week this past week at 161.15. December corn contracts, Chicago Board of Trade futures, 530 and a half ending the week, and that was down 11 cents, which that would have helped your feeder cattle a little, but nothing like the technical support that we saw. And I made note last week that even though we've seen a big rebound in your cattle board, we haven't seen much of an increase in open interest. Fat cattle trade through Thursday of last week, 67,400 head. Your steers and heifers live sold from 121 to 124 and a half. That was basically steady, mostly steady with the previous week on a live basis. Live steers weighted average price through Thursday was 122.96. That was basically steady to 50 cents higher. So we'll see what the final tally was on your weighted average here on our next visit. But dressed steers and heifers last week sold steady to a buck higher from 192 to 197. Dressed steer weighted average 195.40, and similar to your gains on your live weighted average, it was steady to 50 cents higher right there. Friday we had a little bit more trade in the northern plains, but about the same level. It's not going to change things much at all. Iowa had about 500 head confirmed on Friday, 15,600 head for the week. Dress sales only on Friday from 193 to 195. Nebraska had about 500 head on Friday too, and that's it. 31,200 head for the week. Live sales only there in Nebraska from 122 to 123. Kansas nor Texas traded anything confirmed on Friday. Kansas had 15,100 head for the week last week, and Texas 6,500 head of pure negotiated cash sales. Talk about your boxed beef cutout values. Continue to fall at a rapid pace, coming down from those inflated levels that we'd seen early in the summer and then late in the summer too, with a little wave there in between. But choice cuts last week, a weighted average on all of last week's trade come out to be $286.41. That was down $11.37 compared to the weighted average from the previous week, and it was even lower than that at the end of the week. Friday afternoon sales at $283.27. Now you look, and this is the lowest point we've seen your boxed beef cutout values on choice. The lowest we've seen since early August. I mean, the first few days of August this past summer, and there's like a $60 per hundredweight difference between the highs that we saw in the latest rally, and that was in late August, because we had a huge gap in there, a $60 range from early August to late August, and we've seen now that we're at $286.41. That is a long stretch from the high that we saw late August there of $347.02. That was the gouging we were talking about. And that's the reason that your inflation was so much in people's households on their groceries. That is likely the cuteness that's going to get them in trouble and cause to get several things, including minimum negotiated cash trade, pushed through legislatively, and also truth of labeling. Select cuts all of last week's trades, $264.60 on the weighted average, down $6.33 compared to the previous week's weighted average, and late week sales were even lower than that at $262.74. Pretty decent movement, 720 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings last week. Your slaughter, we had the most impressive slaughter we've seen for a while, 657,000 with a 58,000 head Saturday. That was the 657,000 was 20,000 more than the previous weeks and 20,000 more than the same week a year ago. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction ended the week at 153.37. That's based on an 800-pound steer. That's up $2.62 for the week. Your trends in your sale barns through the week. One trend just kept sticking out on most sales that we saw was steady to $3 higher, and that included calves and yearlings. Although where you had a lot of ball and fleshy calves, your market wasn't as good, but it showed some gains pretty much straight across on your calves and feeder cattle in response to your board being up so much. But you know, steady to $3 higher is nothing compared to $7 or $8 gains on your board. But like I said, you just can't turn them on a dime. Look at some late week markets. Fort Scott Livestock Market in Fort Scott, Kansas on Saturday had about 1,400 head. Market was $3 to $8 higher for the most part, except for some feeder heifers that were a little bit lower there that I looked at on your automated market report. But you look at these loads of cattle that I pulled out of Fort Scott to show you here on Saturday. There were 5 loads of mid 8-weight steers here that sell from 155 to 157.75. Pretty impressive there. And then that load of big steers weighed nearly 1,984 pounds at 146. Speaking of those big heavy steers, a lot of people made point to tell me that on our last visit, the stick out deal and the high for the week at Ogallala, the big load of 1,000-pound steers that bring 161. I had no way of knowing, but I assumed that they probably were, but couldn't confirm that. Those cattle were all natural and NHTC there. A lot of people worried about me getting that. Well, you would have figured they would have had to have a lot of diamonds in their ass to weigh 1,000 pounds and bring $161. But on late in the week last week, Imperial Auction Market in Imperial, Nebraska had their 7th anniversary special there. About 3,000 head on offer there, and that was also on Saturday. Look at this automated market report, and you see it was pretty well tested throughout on calves and some heavier weights, but give you a couple on each steers and heifers of your best tested weights. 509 head of 4-weight steer calves, average 473 with a weighted average price of 191.65. 556 head of your 9-weight steers, average 955 at 150.14. How about the heifers? 321 heifers in the 5-weight category, average 539 at 155.80. 363 head of your 8-weight feeder heifers, averaged 823 at 151.81. Now the best quote that I saw late last week and pretty much outpaces anything that I saw on any of our highs for the week last week. We've been waiting for it. I talked about it a little bit late in the week. It's really a benchmark whenever you sell 500-pound steers for $2 a pound. That makes the math pretty easy that they're bringing over $1,000 a head. You know, a lot of people shoot for that and figure if they're selling their cattle, their calves for $1,000 a head, then they're doing pretty good. We did eclipse that. I guessed that we probably would either late in the week or early this week. And sure enough, only place that I saw it happen, and if it happened at your place on a big string, I'm sorry, but you're not getting your information pumped to me good enough. But your Zach Tran top quote for the day for late last week come out of Fort Pierre Livestock Auction in Fort Pierre, South Dakota on Friday. They sold a 240 head string of 524-pound good black steers for $2 a pound. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.